What's going on, people? It's your boy Astro, aka the Galaxy Shogun, here with my full chapter review for One Piece chapter 1160. The title is God Valley, and of course, we are finally getting the truth behind the God Valley incident. I cannot believe this day's happening. Let's go ahead and get into it. So in comparison, this chapter is definitely, I guess, a lot more straightforward than the other chapter. But I gotta say, first and foremost, wow, these celestial dragons are really, really disgusting. Cheering on death, obviously super terrible to do that. And I just can't believe that we are seeing such gruesomeness. Just gotta say that right from the top, we're seeing like actual kids and families dying here and them cheering it on, betting, it's just a sport. It's the Olympics for them. So pretty disgusting stuff overall. So, and more specifically, we start the chapter off seeing some speculation that the Davy clan are Buccaneers. And I know that when spoilers came out, there were some people criticizing Oden, saying, really, Blackbeard's going to be a Buccaneer now? It's speculation. Like, we don't really know that for sure. It's just people suggesting it in the audience. We see one Davy Clan person that looks like he could be a Buccaneer. Coincidentally, he is actually wearing a straw hat, so perhaps some are Buccaneers, some are not. And obviously some people think Whitebeard's a Buccaneer, or, a few more people like John Bart in the story. So we could definitely see some more Buccaneers come up. But I think it would be odd if they were like all Buccaneers. It would kind of feel like the story's getting a little convoluted and messy at that point. But, in Oda we trust, so we'll just have to see how that one plays out. Immediately after that, Dragon. Now we know where Luffy got it from, punching celestial dragons. Even as a marine, respect to Dragon, man. The stocks are up, up, up. He shot a celestial dragon to save Kuma, Guinea, and Ivankov. So not only is Dragon saving Shanks and Shamrock, as we see by the end of the chapter, he does retrieve them, meaning that at some point he loses Shamrock. Maybe he goes against Garling, I don't know. But we'd see Shanks and Shamrock's mother basically entrust, the mission of getting them to somewhere safe and having them being raised by someone with a good heart, unlike their biological father. So, Dragon is doing his thing, but Monkey D. Garp is kind of a different story, as he doesn't seem too concerned with, the hunting and kids being, cut down from trees. Shepard, his family, they're pretty sick. Shepard is really enjoying, seeing the fear on people's faces as he's currently doing in Elbaf. So, it definitely brings some questions for Garp, but we'll get to him, don't worry. So, Dragon shoots a celestial dragon. That's amazing. And, as I mentioned, it's not like we got an incredibly amount of new stuff here, or it's not like we got a bunch of new stuff here, other than, the full reveal of the Gods Knights. Other than that, I guess it wasn't that much. What?! We got the Gods Knights! Oh my god. So, yeah, all jokes aside, it is kind of rehashing a lot of things, but seeing the Gods Knights is insane, and I definitely want to touch on that. I know that's closer to the end of the chapter, but, could one of them be a Don Quixote? Could one of them be related to Doflamingo's family? We got one that kind of looks like a fishman. We got one that definitely looks like Killingham. So perhaps, this woman passes away at this incident, and Killingham is a son or relative that joins the ranks. We also find out that Gunko has the name, I guess, God Steel, or something to that effect. So really want to find out what that's about, because it says she's a God's Knight, but she's not in the full, layout of all of them. And again, I'm starting with the Gods Knights because the Roger Pirates and the Rocks Pirates, we already kind of get the vibe there. We've seen this. It's cool to see the addition of Rocks, but I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on them making landfall. I think we've seen this 2 to 3 different times up to this point. So the interesting stuff I want to talk about is definitely, the Gods Knights. So, we got one that looks like Killingham. I'd like to think they're related, obviously. There's another woman with black hair. We got the Manmeyer, which also that Manmeyer person with the hat and the rifle, they might lose their life here. Because, Gunko is also Manmeyer, and I don't know if there's a rule that only one representative per, Celestial Dragon family could be in the Gods Knights, but, if I were to bet on who's going to be taken down, because it would be crazy if none of the Gods Knights fell here. We got the whole Roger Pirates, as we saw, looking great. We got the Rocks Pirates. Things are pretty insane. So one piece of dialogue I do want to touch on with the Rocks Pirates is that They did talk a little bit about like how they're going to split the treasure. Obviously, Big Mom and Kaido were very concerned about the devil fruit, so it's cool to see that. It's interesting to see that Kaido generally does not really care about the whole Shaki thing, and we find out that Wang Zi did not even come. I guess he's already putting his plan into motion to take Hachinosa, as we know that he ends up being the one to control that island, so... Yeah, this chapter is pretty basic in that sense. Obviously, we got Dragon doing some pretty heroic stuff. We got Celestial Dragon straight up slaughtering kids. Pretty gruesome stuff for One Piece. I mean, we did just get the stuff in Egghead and the Buccaneer, the Kuma flashback. That was pretty grim. But like seeing this, and if this gets animated, like it's gonna be pretty tough. Like watching this type of thing happen. You know, like the citizens are still pretty much in shock. You know, there's kids openly dying, being slashed down by Shepherd and the rest of the Celestial Dragons, and they're just loving it. Like, they're sick. Like, Oda, please make these people pay. Like, this is just not right, man. This lacks humanity on just, like, a different level, man. This is depraved stuff, so... We get that, basically, and by the end of the chapter, of course, as I mentioned, we get the very controversial figure these days, Monkey D. Garp, making landfall, with seemingly what looks like a galaxy impact. I don't know, maybe it's an unnamed attack, but Rox and Roger are both on guard, so it goes to show just how much of a threat, you know, Garp was at this age, and it's crazy that we have Dragon and Garp doing stuff. Of course, you know, as the story says so far, Dragon is the son of Garp. We haven't really seen that interaction, so if I'm hoping for one thing during this God Valley flashback, you know, aside from some awesome fights, is that I see Dragon and Garp interact, because Dragon is literally disgusted. He's throwing up. He's having the human reaction again, like, I really gotta drive it home this week. Laughing at death and stuff like that is a pretty sick thing to do overall. So, you know, Dragon is pretty disgusted, as any person with humanity would be. And, Garp doesn't really seem to give a damn. So that's interesting, and my opinion on the character of Garp is going to be fundamentally changed by the end of this flashback, and possibly Roger too, if I don't see, you know, something justifiable as to why they are saving these Celestial Dragons. This is pretty sick stuff going on. So, again, we got Garp showing up, the stage is set, we got a break next week, but the week after we should be getting some new stuff. Dragon currently has Shanks and Shamrock. We know, obviously, he's going to lose Shamrock somehow. And, yeah, the Gods Knights are ready to be into the fray. We finally see all of them. I'm hoping some of them get taken down, because as we know, the current Gods Knights, there's at least one or two different members, so we'll have to see how that shakes down. Anyways, like I said, this has been a pretty straightforward chapter, I guess. And I'm also, you know, watching on TV the Olympics, the running stuff. Well, not really the Olympics, you know, the track stuff going on. So I'll keep this one short. I don't think I need to really push this too much longer. So hopefully I didn't forget anything. If I did, if you have any thoughts, please leave it in the comments. This has been your One Piece chapter 1160 review from your boy Astro. Please hit that subscribe button. I'd love to be like at least 3,000 or 2,500 subscribers by the end of the year. Help me out if you can. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, leave a comment. Peace out.